When you read your Bible or pray or meditate or fast, why do you do any of those things? Sometimes my default reason is that if I do this or that, there's promises attached to them. If I study my Bible, I'll get wisdom and instruction, or if I fast and pray, God will answer and somehow solve or work in my problems. If I meditate, I get joy, peace, or comfort. I tend to block out time for these things because of the promises associated with them. And you know something? That's true. God does associate promises with each of these disciplines, and I'd encourage each of us to keep those in mind as we practice them. But last week, I was extremely convicted in my time with the Lord. I was reading in a passage in Exodus where the Israelites had just massively messed up. No different than me, honestly. But here's how God responded. It was really interesting. He told Moses that he was going to do just as he had promised. He would still defeat all of their enemies, and he would usher them into the promised land. There was just one difference. His presence would be distance from them. He wouldn't be as near to them as he was before. And as I'm reading, I'm asking myself, so let me get this straight. God was holding to his promises, but withholding his presence. If I'm honest, there's times where I think I might take that offer. I would rather see a promise of healing or success right now than having God right near me. But you know what the Israelites' response was? They wept bitterly. And you only cry at things that you are emotionally invested in and care deeply about. The Israelites were not okay with God defeating their enemies and blessing them without being present with them. When I finished reading that, I had to ask myself, if God solved all my situational struggles, healed all my relationships, set me up financially, gave me health, and put me in a place that I never had to worry, struggle, or fear again, but he was just a bit farther away from me than he was before, what would be my response? How many of us would be okay with God solving our issues but not being present? To have promise without presence. Isn't that how we tend to pray or relate to God? We talk to him about our problems and request solutions more than we ask for his presence in our lives. What would it look like for us to shift the purpose of our prayer, devotions, and disciplines to be about pursuing God's presence more and more? It's true that God will hold to his promises and that he will bless his children, whether it's today, tomorrow, or in eternity. But let's pursue God for the relationship and not just for his promises. In this instance, follow the Israelites' example of not being okay with promises of what he will do without his presence.